Cool. All right, well, into our first news story of the week. Well, finally happened. Google is pulling the plug on Stadia. If anyone doesn't know, Stadia was their struggling, to say the least, game streaming platform. So they announced it back in October 2018 with the full reveal at GDC 2019 in March that year. So basically, this thing's been around for about 3 years at this point. It launched in November 2019 and never really gained much momentum. I think that even back then, we were all thinking, how long is this going to last? But basically, the Stadia general manager, Phil Harrison, released a statement on Thursday this week announcing, basically saying, a few years ago, they launched the service Stadia. While Stadia's approach to streaming games for consumers was built on a strong tech foundation, it hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected, so it made a difficult decision to begin winding down the service. So a few, I guess, nuts and bolts. Players will continue to be able to use their games until January, 18th of January next year. At that point, then they will no longer have access. And obviously, this is a streaming platform, so there's no thing, download your stuff now. It's all streaming. Google will be refunding all Stadia hardware purchases. So you didn't need to buy any hardware to use Stadia, but there was the controller package that you could purchase. So they will be refunding the purchases made through the Google store on that, and all game and add-on content purchases through the Stadia store. And they will repurpose the tech for other areas of the business. So, surprising news, guys?
Just on the refunds, they also said that if you've bought it from other places, that they'll work through a process of how you can get refunds for that as well. So, I think it's pretty amazing that they're refunding all hardware. So, because they're Chromecast Ultras and the controller and all game purchases, which were full price, and they're refunding it fully. So I'm like, that's pretty. Like, I'm actually shocked that they did that, but that's
nuts.
Good. I think that's really good. Like, you have to say tick to Google for that, but you do feel bad for the devs that were working on Stadia games that they just literally found out when they publicly announced it. So
because I had no idea they were still working on the game, and then they found out.
I feel bad for them, but at the same time, if you were working on an exclusive Stadia game and you started work, let's say, in the last 6 months, I just think it was probably a bad business decision to be working on an exclusive Stadia game. That's my opinion, but it does suck for them. So,
and then there's all these great stories that are coming out. Like Kojima was pitching. He was pitching a follow-up or like an extension to Death Stranding to be on Stadia exclusively, and they said no because it's going to be single player only.
Damn.
I'm like, sorry. I'm like, what? Like, that may be one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Like, Kojima, like, such a draw, and if he made something exclusive, and he always delivers as well in terms of like getting it out there, whether it's the greatest games or not, that's a question mark. But
that could have been the thing that kept it alive, right? Yeah. It's kind of ironic, I think, because if you asked me a month ago would I have cared if Stadia didn't exist anymore, not really. Streaming games didn't click with me. But then I played Resident Evil Village, and I was telling you guys about it on the Switch, and it's all streamed on the Switch.
That. I don't think you did tell us.
Oh, I thought I told you guys I tried it on streaming on the Switch.
I remember him mentioning it briefly.
Yeah. Really? Oh, okay.
So it's purely streamed on the Switch. Because I went to download it and I'm like, really? This runs on the Switch? Okay, sure. And it downloaded almost instantly. And then I played it and I went, you know what? This is actually not bad. It runs pretty good. Pretty good. So I'm not saying I've changed my opinion on streamed games, but with a decent enough internet connection and an okay-ish Wi-Fi, I kind of see the potential there, to be honest. I really do. So it is a bit of a shame that they...
I was annoyed. Sorry, go on, Sweeney.
No. I'll going on a bit of a change of direction, so you go.
I was just going to say, like, I was annoyed because I wanted to buy the hardware because I love getting those controllers. I have so many controllers. And I'm like, this is such a unique controller because the idea of it is meant to be the controller communicates to your router. Like, I love that idea. I think that's a really clever idea. Instead of, because you already get inherent lag if the controller's going to the console and whatever, right? Or the TV, blah, blah, blah. But like, I love the idea that it's connected directly to your router, the controller, and you could never buy it in Australia. Never launched here. So, and I was kind of pissed, to be honest, because guaranteed I would have bought it, right? And I would have got all my money back and then had the controller still. So I'm kind of pissed about that. And I would have had a free Chromecast as well. Fuck.
It kind of reminds me of, so just really quick, of the Steam, the Steam Link controller.
Which came out here, yeah.
Which actually did come out here, and I did end up selling mine, I think, or getting rid of it out of returning it. I don't remember what I did with it. But I kind of regret that. Yeah, I think it had cool potential, and they probably cost a fortune now. Yeah. So it's a bit of a shame. And it was actually kind of a cool controller. Like it took some getting used to, but it was unique, very unique.
Mm.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I remember when they did the whole pitch for Stadia. So that GDC presentation, the head of Google and everything presenting, and there was some stuff that they sold me on because I while I didn't think every part of it was great, but when it went from that pitch to what they actually started to launch with in almost like a soft launch in those regions that they did, it just felt like 20% not even of what they had pitched originally. And it just it feels like too soon for this whole thing, because game streaming, I think, is going to be a massive part of the future. We know not every country is going to be able to get there as soon as somewhere like the US, but it's kind of, at least they gave it a shot. I feel sorry for those developers, as we mentioned before, but at least the customers, they get their money back. So.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, don't forget the US, there's still a lot of rural areas in the US that they have worse internet than even Australia, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I definitely think South Korea, Japan, they could switch to streaming almost now. Like, I'm kind of surprised there's not more streaming in those countries. I agree. I think it's way too early. But the big thing for me with streaming is, there is, I feel like no one has actually made a streaming game yet. And what I mean by that is the massive shift in the model is that you can put all the game logic centrally in the server and have, a world that theoretically you could have, 100,000 people connect to and interact with, right? That is impossible to do the way we play games right now. 100... Fortnite and all these things, 100 connected players is stretching the technology to the absolute limit. But I just think whoever makes the first truly streaming game,
metaverse,
it could really take off. I reckon I'd be super fascinated if someone was able to launch a game where there's literally 100,000 people simultaneously doing stuff. I just think that'd be super fascinating to play something like that. So
it's probably just going to be something like a Roblox. That's what it'll be.
Sure, but I don't care. Maybe Kojima. That's what he's doing with Microsoft.
Well, that's what I thought. Didn't he?
Kojima blocks.
He did. He said he wanted to build some sort of crazy something online. Something.
He does. Yeah.
And he's
he's working with Microsoft on something. We don't know what the nature of it is, but a cloud-based game. So.
And he wanted to do stuff with Stadia, so he's got some idea in his head. So I can't wait to see a game like that, and that's the biggest shame to me, that Stadia didn't even release one single game that was unique to Stadia, really.
Yeah, there's a list out there of the games that we will essentially lose as part of this, and there's not many. I think, remember that battle,
but they'll come out.
The Bomberman Battle Royale is one of them. But yeah, they may bring those games to other platforms, but it is does really suck from not as many games, but from a preservationist standpoint. Streaming is doesn't really help with that stuff.
No. But that's seasons, right? Seasons in Overwatch. They're gone forever now. Destiny 2, most of the Destiny 2 content you can't play.
Overwatch fans.
Well, there's a lot of Overwatch fans, right?
No, just making a bad joke. But yeah, Stadia. Well, we never knew you because you never brought to Australia. So
what's Phil Harrison moving on to, right? Because he launched the PS3, which was the worst received PlayStation. Xbox One he moved to, right, for that launch, and now he's Stadia. That guy, how does he get these jobs?
Phil Harrison must be a damn good businessman behind the scenes.
He must have good knee pads.
He even worked for Gaikai at some point, which is funny.
And
PlayStation bought, so...
It's a
All right,
smooth head.
so
That's why his head's so smooth.
with that note, we will move on to the next news story, which